And from now through like 2026, we're getting all the new planes coming out of Boeing and Airbus.
Wow.
So, it's going to be really exciting for us and maybe not so exciting for our competitors.
Will there be pilotless planes at some point?
These are electric planes at a shorter distance. Imagine you're in the Bay Area and you're like, okay, I'm landing. You come in, you guys are coming in from Vegas, land at SFO, you jump on an eVTOL and you like do a hop, skip, jump to Napa.
Welcome to the Digital Social Hour. I'm your host, Sean Kelly. I'm here with my co-host, Wayne Lewis.
What up, what up?
And our guest today, Papia Gambelin.
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Nice, I'm fine.
Good.
I like your shoes.
Thank you.
Oh, those are...
Adidas Gucci collab.
Got some style on it.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fire.
Adidas is like
Those
really
are-
good about it.
You
Yeah.
fly in on United?
I did.
Figures, right?
Right.
How'd you
was
get
fun.
involved with United? Let's start there.
Well, I had a friend that was in the role that I have now. I'm managing director of government affairs for the West Coast, and I do state and local engagement. And she left to go take a great job, and they were looking for someone that had relationships in government locally. And so threw my name in, had 19 interviews.
Wow.
And
With United?
with United during
19 times?
Yeah.
What did they ask you 19 times?
Well, it was during coming out of COVID, right? So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is 2021.
Yeah.
So at a particular level, they, want to meet the leaders that are coming into the company. So the executive team has the option to do that. So I met with the CEO, our CFO, our chief operating officer, our CTO. And what was so good about that process for me was as I was going through the process, I was
Did you meet
learning
with the
about
janitor
culture.
too? Like,
I mean, I'm
the
down.
19 people?
I'm down.
Like-
It was great.
Right,
It was so
right.
cool. It was good to be able to understand their individual philosophy, their goals for their department. So it was really insightful understanding the culture of a company that I'm about to go work for and lead in. So it was a long process, but it was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
What exactly does government affairs do? Because I see that job title at a lot of
Yeah,
big
yeah, you
companies,
do.
but I never knew what it actually entailed.
So, it's liaisoning with government officials and regulators. So I've come from industries that are regulated. So the garbage industry, it's regulated. I worked for the utility in California, Northern California, it was heavily regulated. And now I'm spending some time in the aviation industry, also heavily regulated. So a lot of policy and engagement from elected officials that will engage, and put forth policies that are impacting our operations or our human resource capital, our employees or what have you. So I'll liaison on behalf of the company and advance our policies or our agenda, or I'll mitigate an issue. And so that's my primary role. And then I'll work with internal departments as my subject matter experts, bring them into the fold, and then help educate our policymakers on issues so that they can make amazing and good decisions on behalf of industries.
Wow, I didn't know it got that intricate when it comes to planes and the companies. That's crazy.
Yeah, because we just
there's-
hop on. We don't think about
I didn't know it was
Right,
like you got to have relationships with certain governments and
Yeah, so
Building-
it's heavily federally regulated,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
then
yeah.
all the airports, like Harry Reid airports, regulated locally by the county and the city.
Wow.
So, so you have to have those local relationships. And so everything's sort of integrated, and then a role like mine in a company will then help with communicating and, supporting or amplifying messaging or what have you.
So basically, if you want to add a new route to a new country, you're going to have to negotiate with their government on how that happens.
Yes, so we've got people that will plan, they do network planning. So they decide, where do we want to go? And obviously United does such a good job of picking dots on a map and like creating routes that make
Yeah,
sense based
yeah.
on customer feedback. And so then what we'll do is we have an entire team that will then work with foreign government to then negotiate like that slot at their airport and then calculate the times in which you leave. Because let's just use, for example, Ben Gurion in Tel Aviv. They close that airport at a particular time at night, but you got to then get that plane out. It's a 15-hour route, and then you got to get in places like San Francisco or Newark. And so it's really important to be able to negotiate effectively on that end to then line it up on our end, on the main state side, to be able to then, land the plane and function and meet all the criteria that the airport has, whether it's noise issues or, they got to close off a runway.
Shout out to today's episode sponsor, Hostage Tape. Man, this stuff's good, bro.
I know. Last night I slept with my mouth open. I really needed it. Did I heard it even decreases blood pressure?
Dude, it's got a lot of health benefits for sure. I've even used it and slept like 5-6 hours, and I felt so refreshed the next day.
Wow.
When I do that without mouth tape, I feel terrible.
Yeah, it stopped me from snoring too.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't wait to get the finished results because I know I actually took a B4 pic, and I want to see what the results are in a couple weeks, how much face changes.
Yeah, I've seen some nasty photos of people with like fat jaws before, and then them using tape.
And it just, everything lines up.
It looks so chiseled afterwards.
Yeah,
it's actually crazy.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited, but I definitely use hostage tape a lot, bro.
Yeah, people that are struggling to sleep and, you know, feeling exhausted and snore, I'd definitely try it out. It's pretty cheap too.
Yeah, and it's really comfortable too. It's really flexible. You just kind of slide it on.
There we go. Well, there you have it, guys. Hostage Tape. Shout out to them. Link will be in the bio. Check them out.
Because of some negotiated thing that happened, like we have in Orange County. So there's all these rules and stuff. So and then I'll mitigate locally, state, and locals. That I only do state level and local stuff.
Wow. Is it true when the president flies in, they shut down everything?
It's coordinated. So, for example, in the Bay Area, they'll fly into Moffett, so you're not impacting commercial airspace or aviation activities. But then, you know, there's certain places that they'll utilize, and then they'll shut things down accordingly. But they really try hard not to impact commercial aviation, since it's such a, you know, commerce-driven entity.
So how often do you travel? Since you know, what is that your thing? Is that a hobby of yours, traveling?
Well, I have a family, so I tend to do the concept of trip linking. So it's often used in when you're driving around, you do your route, so you're using the least amount of gas. So I'll like travel for like 2 weeks, and then I'll stay home for a couple weeks. So I like bulk it up. So I was recently in Hawaii for work, came home for a day, flew to Israel, came home for a couple days, was in LA, and then I stopped for 2 weeks.
Wow. That's crazy.
Always moving around.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And putting out fires.
Putting out fires, or maybe creating a little.
Making a fire a little.
That's right. Yeah.
That's crazy. So like with all of, because United Airlines, like when they come across certain problems and stuff like that in the media, how do you handle those? Or do you handle those? So
we work with our communications department.
Yeah.
So they'll handle that side of media. And then, you know, for me, you know, they're a good partner because what they're saying in the media is what I need to be saying to our elected officials.
Right.
And so when I'm speaking to those electeds off the dais, you know, we're coordinated. But I would say, for example, you know, where we're making a little bit of fire, workforce development's a big thing. We have pilot shortage, we have flight attendant shortage in the Bay Area. We want to grow our mechanics as we've ordered all these planes that are coming in. You know, we've locked it in from now through like 2026. We're getting all the new planes coming out of Boeing and Airbus.
Wow.
So, you know, it's going to be really exciting for us, and maybe not so exciting for our competitors to try to get an airplane.
Because you guys are taking all the inventory.
Yeah, we locked it in, and I think because our CEO is so amazing and has foresight, like that's how we're rolling. But you know, as we're getting these planes, we're working locally to ensure we have an incredible pipeline of people to work on those planes, and when we grow that network, that we're able to staff it with pilots and flight attendants and other amazing professionals that we need to operate. So I'll work with our local teams. You know, I have incredible internal partners, and then we'll go to cities, we'll go to the state, and we'll talk about how we get resources to retain and then recruit and retain employees and grow our workforce. So that's like a fun thing to do. It's like not as challenging as some of the other things that aren't so fun, but developing our workforce and investing in our people is a really, really cool thing to do.
What new projects are you guys working on using like the new technology that's being developed, like AI with the whole robots? Will there be pilotless planes at some point, do you feel? Or
maybe
is that something
way in the future.
So there will be planes with no pilots?
I mean, possibly.
That's scary.
I mean, I'd say that's a far in the future.
For real?
I'd say more immediate is what's called the eVTOLs, the electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles that you're going to see. So we've invested in Heart and Archer.
Wait, what?
So these are electric planes that a shorter distance available to them, because, you know, obviously the technology isn't available for long haul.
Right.
But So they'll take off, and some of these technologies have like a 60-mile radius. Some have a 150-mile radius. So imagine you're in the Bay Area, and you're like, okay, I'm landing. You come in. You guys are coming in from Vegas, land at SFO. You jump on an eVTOL, and you like do a hop, skip, jump to Napa.
On a plane.
On an electric plane.
How big is it?
4 seat, 6 seat.
Oh, so it's a little small one.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is going to be modes of transportation that are emerging that are going to be utilizing regional airports in a completely different way.
So how does that make it more
options.
efficient, or it just makes us makes traveling quicker for us?
Quicker, less footprint, because these are going to be primarily electric. So, less carbon footprint, which is our goal. The other way to do it for us is going to be the investment in sustainable aviation fuel. So alternative fuel, which is our biggest expense and our biggest footprint from a carbon perspective.
Right.
So we're working on those initiatives in a variety of states, trying to get California to follow places like Chicago. Usually California is leading in this space, but they're getting there. We're having great conversations with the California Air Resources Board and the administration to move the needle on creating a market, an increased market.
When you say alternative fuel, is that using another fuel besides fossil fuel?
Yes.
Okay,
so
so
this
what
would
would
be
that be?
using municipal waste. So there's that technology to convert municipal waste into sustainable aviation fuel, biomass, so woody material, trees, things like that. Tallows, like oils and things from like a restaurant. So there are technologies that take these things and convert them into sustainable aviation fuel. So it's alternative fuel.
And
they
none of this
burn
stuff is
less.
like public. We never hear about this stuff.
I know. That's why having like platforms like this are amazing. So we talk about this stuff, and then we get the word out. Yeah.
Okay.
That's great to know, because gas is just going to keep going up. So your margins are going to be
expenses.
Well, it's damaging too to the atmosphere.
Totally.
So how does the alternative gas actually, like counter with that? Like, is it less effective or more effective? Is it more damaging, less damaging, or just not damaging at all when it comes to breathing in the carbon in the air?
So it is less carbon. So it's less carbon to make, and then it's less carbon footprint out, like the output of it.
Yeah.
So today, out of LAX and now out of SFO, every flight that you are on United, you will fly with sustainable aviation fuel in the plane.
Wow.
So the plane I just took has it on it.
Really?
But it's a small percentage. And that's where we need more of it. We need more of it to be produced, but it needs to be incented to be made. Like you need an incentive. Right now, the incentives are made for biodiesel. So truckers, like all these trucks that you see, they use biodiesel. And so same materials, that's what they make. But the money that they get to make it is incredibly huge. Like they get a large subsidy. We would like to create a subsidy that's similar to encourage those same oil producers or fuel producers to make sustainable aviation fuel. And those policies are primarily driven at the state level.
Nice.
So the more you make, the more we'll buy. We're willing to buy a ton of it. We've already entered into a ton of contracts to say when you make it, we'll buy it.
Right.
So it'll be cool when we get it made. And we're leading the way, because now as a passenger, you can contribute to our sustainable aviation fuel fund. And you will offset your footprint, because that money will then go into making and buying sustainable aviation fuel with our partners, our fuel partners.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's sick.
We got to start making some, Wayne.
Yeah, I know.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
So then, okay, so damn, so many questions.
I got one. So where does United rank to competition, and what makes you guys better or different from competitors?
So I say we're the best airline, because we do offer so many different product choices. But I would say, Delta's probably a bigger footprint, but we are way bigger and better in my mind. And they're bigger in US. We're bigger worldwide. We're the biggest airline, world commercial airline in the world. Yeah. We offer the most international routes. We offer everything, just better, more of it. So
Yeah, I never see Delta overseas, actually.
yeah.
I don't even realize who I'm flying most of the time. I just book.
You serious?
I just book.
So you might be on
You're
Spirit,
just on
bro.
the plane. Oh no,
Spirit.
that's where you have to. No.
She said, "Oh no."
No, sorry. In
no.
policy, it's really funny. In policy, we all work together. Because
Right.
when you create policy that's going to impact the aviation, we actually work together. I have great relationships with my colleagues. But of course, the airline themselves are extremely competitive, because it is a choice kind of product, right? So you do have to throw an elbow or two.
Yeah,
But I do it out of respect and out of love for my colleagues.
that's
I
funny.
feel that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about pre-United. I want to know about you growing up because you grew up in an Indian household. I watched a podcast where you were going to be part of an arranged marriage, I think, at one point.
Yes.
So talk to me about growing up.
How did that
in
work? What do you
family.
mean arranged marriage?
So my
you
parents-
already had your husband as a kid?
Well, I think my parents were like shopping, right? So they immigrated from India, landed in South Carolina, and then I grew up I was born and raised in South Carolina. So I went to California when I was 16. And, you know, when I think for immigrant parents, I'm first gen, they sort of get frozen in time a little bit, right? With their culture and their ideologies and whatnot. So growing up, I was heard I was going to have an arranged marriage. And that's what you do. And I'm a very feisty kind of individual. And so I always was like, I don't know if that's going to be really for me. So I sort of bucked the system. And I went to college and I kept like buying myself time and met a gentleman at work. And then we've been married 23 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You married your work husband.
I married a man that I met at work. Yes.
I mean,
We at the garbage company.
Yeah. Oh, at the garbage company.
At a garbage company, yeah.
Oh,
He
okay,
ran
okay.
landfills and I was running recycling programs.
Wow.
Yeah, in the 90s.
And how did your parents take it?
You know, they weren't like super thrilled, but I was getting old in their mind, right? So I got married when I was 26, which I know that's not old.
That's old?
But culturally, right? Like
culturally,
to them, I
yeah.
should have been like having like babies by then.
Oh, okay.
And so I got married at 26, and then as I was driving away, my lovely father was like, you know, thank God you're going to be taking care of her. It's sort of that mentality, right? Like, and it's like I take care of me,
Yeah.
and my husband takes care of himself, and we
yeah.
together have built a beautiful life and family, and we have awesome
Right.
friends, and you know, so but yeah, it was not easy. They were very strict. I lived at home through college, so I made my own experiences and would get in trouble for doing so. Like my senior year in high school, I probably cut half the year because I'd
Wow.
already gotten into engineering school, and I was like, it. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go and have
yeah.
some fun, and I'd cut. And there was a time where I went to Treasure Island in San Francisco, thinking that it was an amusement park, and I showed up and it was like a freaking old military base. That's the kind of shelter I was in, right? Like I just didn't know.
Yeah.
So I'm always down for experiences, which is why working for an aviation company is fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always been. And I love
Wow.
my parents. They did the best they could, and they're amazing
Right.
human beings.
What college did you go to?
San Jose State University.
Oh, you went to San
Go
Jose State.
Spartans.
And you went the whole way? You graduated?
Graduated with a BS in environmental science. So I switched my major,
Mm-hmm.
which my dad was not happy with because he wanted an engineer daughter. But I wanted to get out and make money. So I did.
Yeah. Engineers make money though.
Yeah, but I like talking to people.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah,
know what I
engineers
mean?
aren't the most talkative
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Like
yeah.
I was
Introverts,
and
yeah.
back then in the 90s there were like no girls in my class. Like it would be all dudes and me.
Yeah, still in the industry.
Yeah, it's very male dominated.
Yeah, it's like 1 to every 30 or something,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Totally.
Wait, so you couldn't even date growing up? Like,
No.
Wow.
No.
What about friends? Like, could you bring people over?
They were cool with me bringing people over, but it could only be girls.
Wait, so you never dated a guy like growing
Well, I
up? You did,
did.
but not didn't.
Right.
Right.
It was all on the DL.
Yeah. Oh,
But I mean, how do you date, right? Like when you have to be home, like even in college, right? Like at a curfew.
all
In
through
college?
All through college.
So you couldn't party?
Not really.
She partied.
I mean, I did.
She partied for sure.
I did. I did my own version of it.
Yeah.
Which is why I think later in life I went crazy and ballistic and had my own fun.
Right. So you had pretty strict parents. Is that the approach you take with your kids?
I have 2 boys. So, you know, I'm raising men. So I can be strict and structured, but not like, I can't be so strict that I'm not raising people that can have their own minds and do their own thing and have their own, like, you know, ability to make choices based on experience. But you got to put rails on it, right? So I have a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. And so I want them to have the most amazing experiences, but I want them to understand that there are consequences, and then you have to run your life with respect and make good choices. And you know what? Things happen, up, whatever. Learn from that, you know, grow from it.
Yeah.
Ask your friends, never like, you know, just do shit just to do it. So I probably raise them a little differently. My brother had a lot more leeway than I did.
Yeah,
Right,
always.
so-
male,
It's the
men.
second child, right? Always.
No,
Oh,
men,
totally.
males. We
Oh,
always
males?
got-
Yeah.
males. Males
Yeah.
are a lot less. We have a lot less restrictions than the women. Because
Really?
women can get pregnant, men can't.
Oh, so you're saying people are more strict with daughters?
Oh, yeah,
'cause
yeah.
of that? Okay.
Yeah,
I
you gotta
think I'll
lock
be-
this down.
Yeah, I'll be more strict with my daughters too. Probably.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like I'll be the same, but I don't know.
Yeah, nah, your daughters, you kind of want to, strap them down, just like she said.
Well, if they're like me, you're probably gonna want to strap them down. Like now I have kids, and I see why my parents did what they did. Like I get it.
Yeah.
I was very boisterous. I am boisterous, and I'm
Right.
a hustler, and I that people don't want to do, and
Right,
I'll
right.
try stuff, and yeah.
But if
You're
you think
wild.
about it, her parents raised her parents raised the wife. She's a wife. She has the
That's
value.
right.
Yeah,
That was
her
their
parents
mentality.
raised the wife.
Yeah.
So that's what you really want to, implement in the household. You're raising a wife, not just your daughter.
Right.
She has to be a wife to some other man.
Oh my God, are you Indian?
No, I'm just,
Because that is, you get it.
Yeah, I mean,
You
I just
so get it.
no, because I mean, if you think about it, right? So the core values that you're raised with, it carries on to whatever relationships you have or lack of relationships that you have. It really starts in the household.
Yeah.
So in her case, granted, she didn't see it, but if you listen to her, she said, "I actually see it now."
Yeah.
Because of everything that they inputted in you. It's like,
Yeah.
I see why.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm sure you're around some friends and they can't get married. They don't know why they can't keep a man. And then they look at you like, how were you able to? Well, she was raised to keep one.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And what importance do you place on academics with your kids? Because I know a lot of Asians pretty strict. My mom, I'm half Asian. My mom was super strict.
Yeah.
So how do you view it?
So I have two different kids. So I have one that's super, I mean, they're both smart. One's so smart, my one that's super, super smart that I can't have a conversation without Googling. Like he's that guy. He hates school. He's an excellent student because he just wants to get it done.
He's
But
bored.
He's
bored.
bored.
It's too- Yeah.
It is. So he's going to be a senior. He's got because he's on like an EAP, he's got like the special ed stuff because he does suffer from depression. He does a lot of his school online. And so what we're doing now is like figuring out, okay, well, do you want to work like a donkey like your mom and dad? Or do you want to like go to school and keep investing in your mind because you have an amazing mind? So it's introducing him to options, trades, army, military, like everything to me is on the table to figure out what's going to be best for him. And then my younger one, also super smart, but athletic and like, sort of this well-rounded kid. I put a lot of pressure on him. He also has a physical issue where he's unable to make his own antibodies. So it's a primary genetic thing. I'm the carrier of this. So women are the carrier and then it manifests in your boys. So he can't make T cells. So he's unable to make antibodies to fight stuff. So I push him a little harder because I really want him to be able to be independent and do his thing and never ever have the feeling that he
Yeah.
has a crutch in life. So I push him a little harder.
Wow.
So one is creating options for somebody that I know will be able to take care of himself. And the other one is
pushing.
because,
He has a
and I do the pushing so he doesn't have to.
yeah.
Without enabling, right? I never want to be an enabler.
So does he wake up like sore on certain days or anything?
He's
like
super he's very connected to his body. So he plays football at Sarah
that?
High School.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he's at Sarah.
Oh, okay.
So, Brady's alma mater. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
And so, which is awesome. He loves it. He's a sophomore and he's all like special teams. He's a punter. He's on offense, defense. So, I want him to have fun while balancing his academic, but I do push.
Nice.
The tiger mom is there.
She said the tiger mom. Yeah. That's crazy.
Wow. Anything else you got?
No, so I want to know, like, okay, so you said your son, he battles with depression, right?
Yeah.
How did that come about? Or is it just because he's so, like, from an IQ level standpoint, he's so smart that tends to happen to those because he can't relate to certain people in his age group, or is that what it is?
I think it's a combination of that plus he just had really bad experiences in grade school.
Oh, okay.
And so, but I think it came from being bored, right? So he'd get to the end of the school year and he'd get so frustrated with being there. He just like punched somebody.
Whoa.
And he was at a Catholic school. And so they'd be like, he's out.
Wait, so he's just like, I'm bored.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, or he'd get triggered, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody, like he's very, he's like a justice kind of guy. Like he's about justice. So let's say you're making fun of you, right? He'd like punch you for doing that.
Oh, he doesn't like bullying.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
He
so
stands
he's
up.
like, yes. And then he'd get in trouble. And then he'd have these consequences. And he's like, well, I was doing the right thing.
Right.
Which I'd be like, you were, but you can't be punching people.
So you don't want to put him. You don't want to put him in boxing. He'll be
In boxing?
Yeah.
Actually, I bought a
That
bag.
might be good for him.
And I was like, when you want to hit something, go in the garage and hit it. So I built a gym
Okay.
in the garage for my kids so that they had a place to like get their energy out and
Right.
you know, so they've got that little bag, whatever that's called, and then you know the big punching bag. But I did buy one so you could do that.
And
Yeah,
so
they say.
how do you tend to manage like family life along with the extensive work life? Because when you get home, you're still working. You're a mom.
Yeah, I'm working.
So how do you tend to yourself? But then how do you also like have that work mom life balance kind of deal, or is there a balance?
I struggle with it, to be honest, because I work so hard. I'm a hustler.
Yeah.
And so I struggle. I had a job before where I rarely saw my kids.
Wow.
And I actually left that job because I was realizing I'm rarely being a mom. I'm not present. I was also physically manifesting things that were like horrible for my health. High blood pressure, you know, pre-diabetic, you know, heart palpitations.
Whoa.
All from stress. And so I just needed to give myself a break and recalibrate, go to therapy, do self-care, do mental health care. So I'm a big proponent of that. I want to talk about it more. I do colonics, I do Botox, I do anything that is about self-care. And so I started to balance my life with them. So I take breaks and I'll make dinner and I talk to them about their day and I'm asking, you know, we talk about what's going on, like, you know, tell me what you're dealing with, what's a challenge for you, and ask random questions and have fun conversations. And then when they are done, we clean up from dinner and they go do their video games or whatever they're doing, or I go back to work and I knock shit out and work until.
And
they,
how does your husband like that his wife is like a super hustler?
You know, we are both independent. So he's a guy that'll like go in a helicopter and jump out of it and ski down mountain.
And tell you about it.
Yeah, and then tell me about it. Or he'll like backpack in the wilderness and he'll kill a deer and then put the deer parts in a backpack and pack it out. Like I married that guy.
Oh, okay.
And so
he understands you. In a lot of
he
different
does, because he's
23 years,
himself, and I let him do him. He lets me do me.
Yeah.
And then we have a partnership.
Right.
And so it's equal in nature, right? Like you have to have that kind of a relationship if you want to be this independent while being in a relationship that is healthy. So you have to respect boundaries and respect the individual person.
Yeah.
And then I believe in modeling that. I want my sons to see whatever they end up being, if they fall in love with a woman or a man or whomever, like I want them to see like, how do you have a healthy relationship? How do you communicate in a healthy way? How do you debate in a healthy way? Have an argument, but then you're like, you know, can we find some common ground? Can we agree to disagree?
Yeah.
Like, come on, you know, like you can still be emotional and emote, but not in a way that's disrespectful or effed up. Like what we see after COVID, the way people were expressing themselves were really...
it was a lot of divorces and breakups happening
know.
because they just had to look at each other.
That's right.
Had to face one another finally. And it's like, you're not who I want to be with. So how do you maintain a successful relationship for 23 years? Is there a secret?
I mean,
what would be like
openness.
the three things that you can name that's like, this is actually what I feel would work for a sustainable relationship for 23? That's a long time, bro.
It's longer than most.
That's killing.
It's been
me.
a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. You know, I just think it's having sort of a baseline expectation of yourself and your partner, right? Like, I know his strengths, I know his weaknesses. There are things about him I will never ever change, and you have to accept. Right? You just accept. And we grow. I mean, being with somebody, I'm not the person I was 23 years ago.
You see him change so much.
Yeah, and you have to kind of let each person do their thing.
But
And as a person grows, you grow with them. And, you know, there's been times in our marriage where we were distant. And, you know, and respecting that as part of the relationship. You're going to have ebbs and flows. And not everything's going to be wonderful and rosy and amazing. But there was always love, always respect, and a core. And that's, I think, what I'm fortunate that we have, is that we still have that together.
And imagine if the women today understood that, because they dump us. Like, we was like,
Oh, no.
relationship. We just live in a society now where it's just like on to the next.
Yeah,
And I don't
it's a
think that's-
swipe relationship
Yeah, yeah,
environment.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's swiping mentality, right?
Right.
I don't like this swipe.
I don't like him swipe. I don't
Yeah,
like her,
and so I mean, there are things about my husband I don't like,
Mm-hmm.
but there are 10 times more things I do, and so that it's. I think our society today lacks the ability to have tolerance for each other.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have patience for one another, and so you gotta have those things. We gotta figure out how do we bring that back into our society. Is just simply being tolerant, being empathetic. It's kind of what a lot of the movements are about.
Are
the
they,
Me Too-
though?
Don't you think?
Which movements are you?
Yeah, what movements? I don't know what movements are about
Well, I
that.
feel like
I feel like-
when you're looking at like the BLM movement,
well,
empathy, tolerance,
yeah, but
love, support.
I have my own opinion.
We'll get canceled if we
yeah,
talk about
yeah,
BLM.
I have my
Oh
own.
God, don't do that then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have my own opinion about that, but I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah,
I think at
guess
the
where I'm
base,
going.
yeah, I get what.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the base.
Uniting.
Sorry, I don't mean to
Yeah.
become super controversial.
Nah,
That's
but,
not my intent.
no, but I just feel like when it comes to the long term relationships, I don't think people understand. A lot of people just in general don't understand that concept. Like, you want to be with someone that long, because I mean, why not, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the goal is to find a partner that
Right,
you really
yeah,
can
yeah.
be a partner with.
right.
But I take the definition of partner literally. It is give and take. It is tolerating. It's understanding. It's compromising. I'm not going to get my way. There's going to be times where I have to swallow that pill or eat crow, and it sucks. Crow sucks.
What's crow?
Eating crow sucks.
Crow?
Eating crow. You've not heard that saying?
No. What is that?
I've never heard it, but are you talking about the bird?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Like
I
it's
don't-
nasty.
Yeah. Crow is actually nasty.
Yeah, like I would assume it's like a saying. It's like where you have to eat your words,
Yeah,
where you
yeah,
have to,
yeah.
It's like, okay, like, but I also have a mentality, at least as I get older, where I just want to be able to live in peace.
Gotcha.
And so sometimes you just have to, debate, and then you say, okay, well, I've said my piece, so I'm not going to keep debating this. It's like, you said yours, I've said mine. We'll agree to disagree. Let it go. Let's have some fun.
A lot of people can't let it go, though.
Yeah, that's a problem, right?
Ego, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to let it go.
Yeah.
It manifests in your body if you hold on to it.
They want to be right. And
Yeah, and
really
it's okay
there's-
not to be.
Yeah,
People won't admit when they're wrong, though.
wrong and right is all subjective. It's all about what you agree or disagree with. So
Yeah.
if, like you said, you have to learn how to disagree. That's
Yeah.
really what it is. That's what it boils down to, is learning how to disagree with one another.
Yep.
And moving on.
Totally. Like we can have a total debate and then walk away from it and still kick it and have a great
Yeah,
time.
cook, chill, whatever.
But that's out of respect because I now respect what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's out of love. You know what I mean? Like it's out of these places where you're not harboring things in your body and it manifests in like cancer and other things.
That's a
Right.
fact, because it will.
Stress
Totally.
can cause disease. Yeah.
Resentment does too.
Yeah.
Totally.
Inflammation.
100%.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. Let it go.
Absolutely. Papia, it's been a pleasure. What's next for you?
gosh.
Any closing thoughts?
Oh my, well, you guys are amazing. Keep
Thank
creating
you.
platforms for people to share their ideas. These kinds of environments are so important because then you can learn, you grow. And I just appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you
Absolutely.
for coming on.
Yup. Wayne,
Make sure you follow me on Instagram @TheCreator.
Digital Social Hour. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.
Peace.